Okay, so assignment 2, okay, a very quick walkthrough. So you should have a class called admin panel, okay? Again, the name doesn't matter, but then this is the one that you run to trigger this admin panel UI. So this is class where we're looking for your singleton pattern, okay? So we want to find out which class is that, and then want to see if this is a singleton pattern. So basically we check 3 things about the singleton pattern. Okay, so we're checking for static instance, static getter, or we're looking for a private constructor. Okay, very specifically. Anytime we talk about singleton, we want to see if these things exist. Okay. All right, so go back, take a look at the singleton pattern. This is the easiest one to do. All right, so I won't talk too much about it. Now, most of the issue I think come from, we start with the composite pattern, okay? So for this assignment, obviously we have a user. That's a very important class. We have a group, or some of you call it user group, doesn't matter. Name doesn't matter. So user is a specific user you can add to the tree, where group is just a container. It doesn't do anything. The group cannot really send a message or cannot have a tweet. It just serves as a container. So we talk about the composite pattern. Now, we will basically looking for if you have a hierarchy for this. All right, so there will be a hierarchy. And then this one, we need to find a good name for this. Okay, what would be a good name to describe for user and group? And we call it this. What will be a better name for describing this one? It's like a user profile or tree entry. Yeah, I'll talk about the tree entry. That tree entry works, but oh yeah, entry will be good. I'll do an entry. All right, so or maybe I'll do a Twitter entry or a sys entry, whatever. Okay, so entry is a good term, so I like it. So I will do this one. Now you will need to have the hierarchy build. Okay, so basically there must be some inheritance, whether it's an interface or it's a parent class, doesn't matter. Okay, depends on what you want to do. All right, so user will be a type of system entry. Group will be a type of a system entry. All right, now a very important thing when we talk about the composite pattern, we're checking basically 2 things. Okay, let me write it down. For composite, checking number 1, if there is an hierarchy. Number 2, if the composite, in this case is a group, can have a list of system entries. All right. So if you remember, now this composite should have this one here. Okay, so this one should go back to contain some of this. Okay, so not sure how to use this. Gosh. All right, just like that. So the group could go back to contain a list of system entries. If this group can contain system entries, that means the group can contain either user or group. That is what is called a composite pattern. Okay, so let me see the question here. A user and group different classes, absolutely. User and group must be different classes. Okay, there are different things because this is individual, this is a group, and this one can contain, can add and remove. This one you cannot add or remove. This must be 2 different classes for sure. All right. And yes, so to answer the question, This one, again, it can be interface, it can be abstract class, it can be regular class. It doesn't matter as long as it fits your need. But then you need to have a parent here. Okay, it's fun. That part is fun because it depends on how much code you put here. If you put a lot of code here, that means you probably need to use a class or abstract class. If you just have a signature, then interface is enough. For this pattern, it doesn't matter. Okay, either way, that doesn't affect the pattern. You know, interface, abstract class, and the class are all fine. Okay, as long as you can justify that. All right, but I told you the key is that you have a hierarchy, and then the composite can contain both. That's what we're trying to highlight from the composite pattern. All right, so I guess this part isn't too difficult. However, the really challenging part about this project is how do you merge this one with your UI? The UI really just mess up everything. I guess that's everyone's feeling, right? So it just makes this whole project totally lost, and then you don't know what to do. All right, and I would recommend, guys, in the first version, don't worry about whether your UI framework or usage is really following the best practice and anything. Make this one first and then try to fit this data into your UI. Any way you can, it's fine. And even though it's maybe not efficient, maybe it's kind of messy, it's not like a good pattern, whatever, it's okay. But we're looking for if you know how to use a pattern, at least for the data. However, the ideal use case for this is that you have your UI stuff, okay? So let's say that, all right, so this is your UI, okay? This is the tree. I remember in Java, so one is called J tree. I don't know what's it called in Javaflex. What's the name for in Javaflex? I saw a lot of you actually using Javaflex. Treeview, okay, very good. Again, I never use this one. However, I do know this one that they support some kind of a some kind of a tree model. Is anyone are using something like this? In other words, any of this UI system, okay, they support some kind of a model or data that you can throw in the tree. The tree will help you to render it. Okay. So what I'm trying to say that is that, okay, you got this UI widget. The UI widget probably allows you to add a child or anything. Now, you can definitely manually or explicitly create those UI elements there. However, at the same time, the better way is that you can actually work on the data model supported by the tree. Now, if you make that work, all you need to do is form a correct data model, and then you throw in that model in the tree should be able to render this automatically. So, so for those of you who are actually using this one, you probably understand what I'm trying to talk about. Okay, so this kind of a development, you know, there is a name for this, it's called MVC pattern. Okay, it's called a model view controller. The idea about this one is for any kind of UI system, okay, we would like to split the UI from the data. Because for UI, it's just representation. What you are going to present is depending on your data. So a good UI system, if you gave me a piece of data that fits with this structure of the UI can just automatically render everything. Okay. However, your job is to figure out what kind of a data model works for this UI. And then if you could merge these two together, and then if you just throw in everything to the J tree, then it will just render everything automatically. That's the ideal case. Okay, so in other words, you should make this one also somehow, you know, with it's also become merge them into the same hierarchy. Okay, that's again the ultimate best solution is that's the case. So that way you just build everything here, form the user and group everything, then just pass it and then it's rendered. Okay. However, it's kind of easier said than done. The first time you do it, maybe it's difficult, but that's okay. If you can't merge them or if you find it's too difficult, that's fine. You create your data structure here, then you create a separate tree model. That's fine. Based on this one, it's totally okay. Okay, you got like two copies. This is just tree model copy. This is user like data copy, and then you just need to manage their consistent. Everything you add, you create this one here. You also add something here, and the tree will be able to update it. Okay, but I want you to understand that you start with a pattern, you build your UI, you figure out your way to fit the data into this UI. And if you can figure out the best MVC approach, that's fine. But then if you can't figure out, that's okay. Even if you do some kind of a, actual work to convert it or manually manage the UI, that's also fine. Okay, so let me see some of the questions. You could add object directly to a J tree. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So again, there's different approach. Okay, I think there's some kind of a tree model type of thing that just directly works with the tree. How do you update the tree in a real time? I think there's some methods about the refresh. Okay, so for the any kind of UI system, there's some kind of refreshing events or whatever to reload. Good. Yeah, there should be something to let you do it. You just need to trigger that at the right time. So this is the part I'm talking about. Okay, you need to create a date. This is this is not the required, I think, but it's definitely the best way to do it. Your data model must implement the tree model. So basically, the tree deals with this. The J tree deals with the tree model. So the tree model is, as you can see, an interface. If your user or group all become a tree model, or it falls into tree model, or sorry, maybe it's called a tree node, then it will work. If you just get your data through into the J tree, it will work because the J tree just process this thing called a tree model. Okay, there is the default tree model. This is probably the one you will need to use because you don't need to implement everything. The default tree model is already here. All you need to do is extend this one and then build your tree. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, Nick is right. So it can be used for anything. So yeah, that's how the Java Swing is built. Okay, so it has a clear data model that process your data, because when they build a J tree, they don't care about what you're storing. Okay, user group or whatever you like to store, it doesn't matter. As long as you have this containment, the children relationship, that's fine. That's why they just expose this kind of a tree model for you. And then every node should be a tree node. Yeah, so in other words, if you're following this approach, okay, so everything, this one should be a tree node, this one should be a tree node. In other words, this one should be a tree node, I guess. All right, the tree node, yeah, this is indicate whether it's a leaf or not. If this is a leaf, then you cannot contain it. If it's not, then well, it can actually contain something else. So that's where you can differentiate the user and group. All right, so look a little bit more into this tree model thing will help you. But I'm not sure about Java Flex. Okay, so how that works. I never used that one, but it looks like pretty cool. That I'll call it Treeview. Okay, let's see that one. Okay, so you see they also have this tree item. So what is the tree item? I think it's something similar. Looks like the Javaflex is easier to use. From the code, I think it's probably easier to use. As you can see, this is a great example, guys. Okay, so you got a node and then employee. So you employ your data is your data model, but then you also need to eventually the tree only deals with the tree item. So all you need to do is to make sure your employee object are the tree item. So how do they do that? It looks like they're just duplicating everything. Yeah, it looks like they're creating everything from the employee. However, you don't need to do that, okay? Ideally, you can make this one to be a subclass of tree item. That works. If you make that, then you just throw it in, then it works. Okay, so this is the example I'm talking about. This is the example they show here is it shouldn't be the most optimized because you don't really need to create another you don't need to create another like you can see iterate employees. Every employee you create a tree item. You're just copying all the things over. Not necessary. Okay, totally not necessary. You can just make this one to be part of a tree item, and then it should work. But then you will need you have to do some work here to make sure that it implements all the methods required by the tree item. Right. All right. So any questions about this part? Well, obviously this one is a difficult part. Okay. So I know a lot of you are spending a lot of time here. Okay. But the composite pattern is really easy. All we are looking for is this kind of hierarchy, and then you need to have this hierarchy. Otherwise, it's very difficult to handle it. Once you have this hierarchy, you can then also, it's very easy for you to iterate it because you will have all you need to do is save the root, and then you can just iterate the root to get all the children, and then something like maybe a breadth search, that would be a better way to do it, right? User group root with the tree. Yeah, so that's kind of the example I talk about here. So as you can see, this one here, try to build a tree for employees. Okay, to show the employees messages, whatever. Now looking at their code, as you can see, they got a list of employees. That's their actual data. Had nothing to do with the UI, just the data. But in order to show this data into the tree using Javaflex, they support something called a tree item. So everything you put here must be something called a tree item. So what this example does is that looks like they create all this initial data. Then when they start, as you can see, they have a loop to iterate every single employee from this data set. And then they create a tree item for each individual employee. Okay, and then they set everything with a name. They use a name for this tree item, and then they also add all the children here. If the employee has some children, then I think they will also add it here or something like that. I think that's what they're trying to do. And then after all of this, they form a tree item, okay, which can be used for the tree view. As you can see with the tree view, all you need to do is take this root node. The root node is just a, I think that is just a tree item, right? What is the root node? Yeah, it is just tree item. All right. So when I see merging them, I mean that you could actually merge this employee with that tree item together. So you don't have to write this logic. This logic can be avoided if you do that way. If you merge them, you don't have to make another copy of all the tree items. You can just have this employee, that's it. All right. It works exactly the same way as swing. That's what I was trying to show here. Swing use something called a tree model and a tree node that corresponds to the tree item in in the Javaflex. So when I say merge, I'm just saying that employee extends or implements that tree item. You don't have to do that one, right? Yeah, so this is I think this is the ideal version, okay? Don't worry about that step. So that's why, but then you focus on this approach, I think the better way. So you get your data set, you know how to show it in the tree and just make another copy. That's fine. Okay, don't worry about that one, okay? If you know how to do this, then it will be much easier for you to see how can you do the next step. But then, yeah, so just don't worry about it. Yeah, but then the idea behind it is really important. All this UI, as I mentioned, when they made those UI widget, they don't know what you guys want to build. So instead, they just want to say, okay, I don't care. I just care about if you're a tree model. Does your tree model has something called a tree node? And then if you are one of those type, I can show it. I can display them. So it's then developer's job to take this tree model and tree node and then connect with your data. So you become a tree model and tree node, then those things will be able to show it in the tree. So that's the design logic here. All right. All right, so which link? This one here? This is the Javaflex, okay. I'll just send this one here. Yeah, just based on this example, I think that's kind of the idea I'm talking about. All right. So how to run a Javaflex? Does this one run automatically in Eclipse? I never use Javaflex. Let me try it. Okay. Okay, so this one looks very intuitive. So let me see if that works. Oh, really? So it's not a regular Java project, right? So let me search. Okay, so it doesn't look like. We'll try it. Okay. I never ran this one. I heard this a lot. Okay. Yeah, this is definitely the newer version. All right, it doesn't import it. How can we? Yeah, interesting. How do we import Java? Oh, it is in JDK 8. Yeah, I'm using JDK 8. Anyway, let's actually search for this one. I think something here. Okay, so it looks like the first one. All right, any questions about this part here? All right, let me see if we can run this one. Okay. Yeah, Peyton. So good question. Maybe, yeah, that if that works, that's probably better. Yeah, I think that's the same idea. So if you do that, you don't need to do, yeah, we need to look into that. Okay. Again, I'm not too familiar with that library, so I need to look into it. Maybe that's the way to go. Okay. So the unit generics. Okay, yeah, probably. Okay, either way, but then well, no, I think it's different because if you do that, it actually means that you still need to create all those copies. All right. Anyway, I can I definitely want to, give it a try on that one. No, we don't have it. How do we get it? So this is a new project, I guess. New project, let's try that. Okay, so there is this one here. Why this is still complaining? All right. All right. Anyway, I'll look into this one later. Okay. Never used this one before. Okay. So we'll see that. All right. So let me see any other questions. I made a list to store users and a list to store groups, and then now I'm not sure if this is necessary. All right. So I think I understand the question. Okay, Camille. Now, when you create this user group and then store them, now if you're using the composite pattern, it must be you have a root which is a group. That group can have a list of other things. So from that class, you should have a list of system entries that contains all of this. In other words, that one has children. Inside each children, it could be a user, it could be another group, and then that group could have some other children. So when you create this one initially, it must be a tree structure, okay? So there is no doubt about it. So you must have to show a tree structure that from one root, then you can contain others, okay? And then, if this leaf, I'm gonna use red. If it's a group, I'm gonna use black, okay? And then this one maybe contains some other children. All right, so that's how you save this one based on the composite pattern. Okay, however, some of you did mention that, oh, can I also save everything, all the users into a dictionary, put them into a list so that I can easily retrieve them? The answer is yes. Okay, so for example, if I want to know the user, let's say there's the ID user, 581, and then I don't want to just iterate from the root and then get that access. That takes a lot of time. Can I put them into a actual like a dictionary or hash table so that for every user, I can quickly get from the name, get the actual user object? Of course, you can save that one as a reference table for you to easily get it. Okay, so that's one thing. I think, or if you use the list, also that works. However, I don't think that's really required, because if you do things right, when you are clicking on the J-tree view here, if you are clicking on some of the items, you should have the access directly. If you click on this leaf, you should be able to get what is that from your tree model and then to user. If, again, you're building that kind of association. Well, that's the ideal way, because the UI is just a UI. You click on the things, at the end, it should reflect on the model. Okay, but then the first version, you don't have that bridge. That's totally fine. Okay, let's just build a dictionary to trace this, or you can always traverse your model to find the user. That doesn't matter. So Camille, I don't know if that answers your question. All right, yeah, but composite pattern is just how do you save things initially. Okay, it doesn't help you to search for it. All right, groups have tree entry. Tree entry can have, yes, that's correct. Okay, observer pattern. Yeah. So we all remember that observer pattern has a subject, also has the observer. Now, the Twitter example I already pointed out is a very special case because when you are following somebody else, that user, somebody else will become your subject. But when somebody is following you, you will be the subject. So in this case, the user should be both subject and observer. So for this observer pattern, we're gonna looking for, do you actually have a subject class, parent class? Do you have something called observer? Okay, you must clearly have this. Maybe the name can be slightly different, but we want to see you have this one. Okay, subject, observer. So I'm gonna use a different color. So the user class must be implementing those. And then you might be asking me, oh, can I merge all of it together? Can I merge this one together? Okay, you can, but be careful. I think in this case, probably better not to merge them. However, this is gonna have the case that this one is gonna deal with a multiple parent. You cannot have multiple parent class, but then you can have multiple interface. So for sure, this will be a good one to use at the interface, okay? This one will be a good one to do as a class because it has, if you look at our pattern, observer pattern, this one has a lot of notify all those kind of things. So it will be nicer to have a class. So that means this one, maybe you will need to consider that as interface, okay? However, if you told me, okay, this one has a class, now what should I do? That's fine. You can merge this and this together just to put all the code together. Okay, that's also fine. All right, but ideally you should let us see where is your subject parent class, where is your observer class, and then the user should become both type of it. I still feel that it will be good to split them because if you move this one to here, and suddenly your group can also become a subject, that's actually violates the rule, right? So probably ideally this one will be a class, it will be interface, and then this will be an interface, probably will be better. How is the user inserting system entry and subject if both are classes? Oh, inheriting. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that's why, Christian. So I mentioned that if you want to be really clear about the pattern, so I will put this one to be interface because for composite, interface is enough. Okay, it doesn't really need anything. Okay, just interface should be enough, more than enough. This one you normally should have some code that has a list of others or all of those. Yes, so Robert, back to your question. Yes, the user is both. Okay, this is a very special case for observer pattern. Okay. Yeah, you can post things every time you change something, you'll notify your observers, your followers, and that's what you need to do. Also, you should have some kind of update to update your own newsfeed. If somebody else updates, then your update method will be called. Okay, so this will be a very interesting system to build. Okay, very interesting one. What kind of method signatures should be inserted for this one? Other pattern, great question. Okay, remember we did the example about the widget. We have something called update or refresh, right? Now in this case, you just need to think about what do we need to do for both, okay? One thing I can think about for here probably is this thing called get a name or get display name. Because the one thing share in common for both of this is what do you do to render them in the tree? So you will need to get their name, right? So they both need to show their name, something like that. And then if you are trying to store a name, you might be also be able to put the name maybe here at the attributes, and that will make it as a class. Okay, so again, so this part I will leave it to you. Okay, so you can make it as a class. Then you need to figure out how do you fit this one in, make them together. All right. Another way, guys, if you're doing this one, okay, as a class, this may be a little bit overwhelming, but it's okay. I'll just point it very quick. If you make this one as a class, now you could move these things inside and make them together. That's one way, but that's not good because if you do this, your group become a subject, and then your group shouldn't have anything to do with people following. Now, normally when this thing happens, you have to redesign your hierarchy. So that means that your user will actually go to become this one. Okay, if that makes sense. Okay, so this one become an abstract class, I think. And that way, you don't need to worry about this one become a subject. This is not a subject. This is only a system entry. There's some code here, there's some code here, and then your user is this type. And then this is abstract, and then people really can't create any instance of subject. They can only create user. All right. So this is a typical way on how you deal with multiple parent classes. You have to put them in the same hierarchy, but be careful about other subclasses. That's why at one point we mentioned that abstract class is sometimes inflexible to use compared with the interface because all of these issues you see. All right. So I'll put it back. How that combining works, it got really confusing. So Robert, you're still talking about combining the data and then the tree model, is that right? Okay, so I'll see if I can figure out some examples. Okay, can I have 2 or more users with same name? Yeah, Rafi, that's don't worry for this version. We're not gonna test your system on that direction. Okay, don't worry. If you implement something to check unique, that's okay. If you don't implement it, that's totally fine. Okay, that's not the focus of this assignment. Okay, we're not gonna try to break your system. Don't worry. Look at the designs. When user 1 follow user 2, should user 1 be able to see user 2's past or only? Yeah, good question. Let me think about that. Whichever way is easier. Okay, so it has a lot of others. No, you don't need to see the past because think about, think about the actual real use case in Twitter, right? If you just follow somebody, you will start to receive the things from that moment. It will not automatically, it maybe give you a past hour, past days to it, but it will not give you too early, right? So that's how it works. So only from that moment is fine. Don't worry about the past history. All right, and then patents, how would you know the order? Yeah, don't worry about that one, patent. So just the current, okay? All right. And finally, the visitor pattern, okay? A visitor pattern, I think it shouldn't be difficult because the visitor pattern, first of all, it depends on here. Once you have this one set it up, remember for the visitor pattern, we want this all have something called like a accept method. Okay, so first of all, you will need to build another hierarchy just for the visiting part. Okay, you got our visit, like we'll call it system entry visitor. Okay, and then we have 4 buttons. You will need 4 visitors. Like what I forgot, what count visitor, count group, count user, I guess positive. Okay, this one you just build it like separately, build a hierarchy, and then but then the key is I think somewhere here you need to have this accept method. Okay, and then they will need to do it, or a better way probably build one more interface for visiting. Okay, something like this one probably need to go to the top. Visitor, visitable or whatever. Okay, so this entry should be visitable. All right, so something like that. And then that one has something called a visit, right? Sorry, accept some kind of visitor. So look at a visitor pattern. The visitor pattern we'll do at the very end. Once you have this part figured out, you can plug in this one into here. So then whenever you click on a button, you're going to create one of the visitor instance and then run something called accept. That's it. This example is very similar to the car example we showed you in the class. All right. So for the car example, I think I was using a Wikipedia example, visitor pattern. Yeah, take a look at this one. This example I think I was using. It's a very clear one. Okay, so let me see. I can send a link. Java example. I think the example, our case is very similar to that one. All right, so I think that kind of summarizes 4 patterns. Okay, trust me, the most difficult part probably is here because that's when first time you work with UI. Once this one is done, the observer part is same as this one, and yeah. But yeah, the challenge is not on the pattern. The challenge I know is actually on how do you deal with the data with UIs. That part, get your code really complicated quickly. Yeah, so I think either, of course, I think this way is better, Wes. So the user group should directly connect with this one, and then this one then becomes other types. I think that makes more sense because this one might be in the think about it, this one might be used by something else, right? So it should be better in a higher level. Jason's question, can you separate that one? Well, this part, your visitors, most of the visitor code will be separated, but then they won't be totally separated because if these things want to apply visitors, then they need to become like a visitable. Yes, that's what the West means. Yeah, but the most code of the visiting process will be in the separate hierarchy, will be here. Okay, so right now, users have to use an enemy instance to follow another user because enemy has no No, it's not required a rush, okay? So while you are creating, okay, a rush question is that you can only access and control the users in the admin panel, not the other one. Not necessary, because the moment you create the user panel, the user view, okay, you should actually pass the user a reference over. That panel should have the access to that user object. All right. So let me just run it here. We'll do a different color, black color. Okay. User view. Okay. So you when you click on one of the tree, okay, the tree view is going to open that from there. You will open that user view. This one here, the user object should be attached. Okay, you should know who are you waiting opening, and then you should be able to see the other users. Sorry, if you choose the user ID, then you can still go to have a reference for the database. Okay, so in other words, okay, sorry, I want to clarify. So you need to pass the user object itself, but also give it access to the whole database so that you can still access other users. That's why having a kind of a dictionary, like a little database to save all of the users probably will be helpful, if that makes sense. All right. So basically, you need to provide access to this user view. You can't just rely on everything on the admin. So since we made system entry a class, should we merge subject and this one? Yeah, so Allison, you didn't catch what I mentioned here. Okay, this is a class, this is a class. You cannot have two classes, right, as a parent class. So you can either merge them, that's fine. Or you know, if you want to be more careful, the reason I don't think that's the best approach is because if you merge them, okay, if you merge this one here, then the group also become a subject. But then the truth is the group is not a subject. Okay, so the solution is you can do this. Okay, you can move this one here. You get it? So the user will be a subject and the group is a system entry. So the group is not a subject. And then if you want to be safe, this one should be abstract. So people will not create a subject in the middle, like for no reason. Okay. Yeah, Wes, don't be confused about the visitor pattern. Okay, you need to implement this one here. Every visitor pattern will have a visit user visit group, depending on what you want to do. If it's just counting, and then we need to check if this is the user, you know, we counted and group we counted. If it's about the messages, we look at the messages, all of those. So you just write those logic separately, and then when you click on a button, you create one of this instance, and call the method called accept on the root node. On the root of your tree, you call this thing called accept. It should iterate everything and then calculate it, and it should give you a final result stored in that visitor. Okay. Yeah, but then this visitor pattern, I agree, it's not going to be as straightforward as the car example. That's another thing, guys. You know, when we're showing you the pattern, the car example are perfect, or we use the UI widget example are perfect to show the composite. But then, you know, when you come to the real system, there will be a little bit adjustment. Okay, in this case, you know, counting the user and group. You know, if it's a counting user, then you don't count anything on group. There are some empty operations, but you know, if you keep the structure, it's remain the same. And then just like the observer pattern, then in this case, you only have one class that, but then it's both observer and the subject. So that's also very common, but that doesn't change how the pattern works. So you definitely need a little bit of adjustment. That's very common in reality. Store information as go. What do you mean, Wes? Where do we store the user objects? Oh, I see. Sorry. Yeah, so you just put that reference. Just save that somewhere in the class as a reference. As long as you keep that reference, it's fine. And now, if you want, you can make like a singleton class to just access the user database. Again, when I say database, I just saying that you save that into memory with a reference. That's fine. You can have a global access point. That would be a good place to use singleton pattern again. Something called the user DB. So that allows you to search or to query to get access. That might be not a bad idea. All right. So far, I only got one submission, guys. Okay. But I know a lot of you are working really hard on this. Uh, well, this one just work on that iteration by iteration. Okay. You you can just don't worry about getting a perfect structure at the first place. But then if you can make one thing working, one version whole thing working, then working on the improvement will be much easier. Okay, so it's okay if you kind of if you lost some of this, I'm sure it's sometimes confusing. I'm talking about this because if I just show you a graph, it doesn't mean anything. It's all about the code. All right, so it's okay if you're not capturing it. Just also it's okay if you're not 100% following the pattern correctly. But then make the system working first. That's just my suggestion. Well, you can, Wes. Okay, I think you're very um I yeah I can see your experience and background, and you must make this work. Okay. For Stefan, so yeah, so not much. Okay. I think it's mainly for us for you to show how the system works. Okay, to run it, and then yeah, if you can briefly show, oh, this is this is the code where I apply this composite pattern, all of those, that will be maybe even better. Okay, so showing the system work is most important, and then talk about briefly about the code. Okay, guys, even always submit. Okay. um, don't just give up. I don't know how to do. I don't do submit. That's a very bad decision. Also, you don't have to ask me, can I have more time? Okay, you guys can have more time. Okay, even if you submit something, you can still push. Okay, you can still push changes. That's okay. My goal is not to cut your data and then give you a zero. That's not a goal. Okay. However, some of you start to ask, oh, this is a difficult assignment. I have another assignment. I have another midterm. I have another presentation. Okay, so that's actually because I don't want to hear. Okay, it's not because I'm not happy about that. You're talking about their courses, because these are all the same kind of work. To be honest, we didn't have a lot of work. Okay, this is probably the only work that cost you some time for the whole semester. The first assignment wasn't very difficult, and then we didn't do anything else. And then I'm actually very generous. Okay, so I think I deserve a little bit more time, your time. And also, I'm pretty confident that this homework probably is more useful than most of other homework. Okay, so that's why you should prioritize that one. Okay, if you want to have more time, I don't think we will be able to grade that, within a week or 1.5 weeks. So keep pushing things, keep working it, keep submitting it, um, and the goal is to have you to get something work. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, if you think this video is helpful, I actually don't know if this is helpful. Okay. I'll upload it to the YouTube right after this class. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I can definitely upload that one. All right. So keep pushing the questions. Okay. I want to take a look at this one very quick. I want to see if I can run a quick demo. But to be honest, I haven't really touched this one for a while. I'm just doing this chatting work to you guys. Okay, so I'm trying to be lazy. Haven't done this for quite a while, but yeah, Jason, what's your question? Just type it again. So if system entry is an interface, what do we do with visitable? Visitable can also be an interface, right? So you can then implement multiple interfaces. So multiple interface is never an issue. Also, interface can also extend another interface. Interface can also have a hierarchy. So if you want, you can also make system entry to be a child of visitable. So either way works. Catherine, you might not get to the visitor pattern. No, you must get to the visitor pattern, okay? There's no excuse. That should be the easiest part. Okay, don't overcomplicate it. Oh wow, Wes, I got that actually improved some chances. That's good. Okay, one thing, guys. Okay, anytime, any work, any assignment, even if you know your thing doesn't work, okay, you should, I'll tell you the secret. Okay, you gotta submit something. Okay, because if you don't submit anything, some professor like myself are so nice, always give you things and let you pass, and I can't give you anything if you don't submit or give empathy. This is like a very very stupid mistake. Okay, I can tell you, not just my course, I'm pretty sure a lot of others deal with the same thing. We don't want to be tough and then give. I feel very bad if I type like a 0 or something. That hurts myself. Okay, but then you need to submit something and show something. Okay, even if the things are very buggy, but still submit something, um, and you always get something back. Okay, that's a very very simple tip. At least it shows that you care about this assignment and that you tried, and then people will give you credit. Don't worry about it. And also, I know this is a difficult assignment. We're not gonna, very very tough, and then make everyone score lower. No, that won't happen. Okay, so it's all for like encouragement, motivation, not necessary to kind of make everyone feel bad. So I want to take a look at this one here. Okay, I did this a while ago, and then is there a complete demo? Yeah, so here. Okay, so let me get this one. Tree demo. Okay. so what happened here? Oh, this one need additional files. Why they need HTML files? Okay, yeah, so it looks like they're trying to open some web browsers and stuff. What's wrong with this? Package? Oh, yeah, sorry, I had a package name there, okay. All right, so let me try to run this one. Okay, so a little bit of tree demo here. There are folders, there are other things, okay. So let's see how they run this tree. They got this JFrame and then they add this tree view sample. Okay, that's the most important part. The tree view sample is right here. Okay, so they got a tree election, you know. Okay, let's just see the JTree here. The panel is just the web page. Okay, it doesn't matter. So we're looking at the tree here. For JTree, they create a JTree. And then as you can see, they pass this default mutable tree node. Okay, it's called Java series. And they create all the nodes. And these are like from the top, then they create a category, which is a node, and they create a book. So everything is a node. However, there's a difference. One is a folder, one is not folder. I think there should be some place that where you set it. Oh, I see. I think if you add something, then it will become a group. If you don't add it, I think it will become maybe a default leaf. All right, so as you can see, this one here. Oh, actually, I think no, this is the right way to go, guys. Because you see, the way they build a tree is that they are building a lot of this default immutable tree node, but at the same time, they are passing this object over. Okay, they pass the book, they pass everything inside. Okay, they wrap this object inside. I think that's one way to do it. All right, so let me think about that. Okay, so it's slightly different from the way I imagine, but maybe that's the suggested way. Okay, so they put the object inside this one, and then they build the tree model, the tree node. So when you click on the tree, you can definitely see that object. That solved that problem. Okay, now what I'm really trying to do is, can we make this one directly to be a mutable tree node? I think we can. All right, so we can do some example. All right. So guys, if you don't have any questions, feel free to drop off. Okay. I might stay here just to play around with this little code here to see what else we can find. But I want to make this one really, really simple. Okay. There are too many things going on. I just want to focus on the tree here. Okay. All right. So let me see some questions here. So you can pass user in a group object in the node. Yes, yes. So Rafi, so this example obviously is a very standard one. Okay, so you pass your object inside this thing called a what is it called? Default mutable tree node. Okay, right here. So you just pass everything inside, it will work. iterating through the members of the root to create that one. Yeah, Rafi. So I think, yeah, iterating the root should be enough. How does the visitable work? Well, so basically, you know, user and group both can be visited, right? So they both can be visited. So they should, you know, the visitor pattern should be applied to this hierarchy. Okay, so you could, there are different ways you can merge this one together. You can put the method here inside, but I would recommend that you still split them so that we can clearly see we're applying those. So if, you know, you can just make this one the interface, and then this system entry will implement this interface. That should solve the problem. Yeah, voice over or not doesn't matter. You know, having voice is probably better. Okay, just walk through what you do, how it works. Yeah, the positive simplest, just pick a simplest approach, okay? Good, great, all these words, maybe find 5 or 10 words and then use that one to differentiate positive. That's it, okay? Not important. You don't need to run a sentiment analysis. Yeah, you can just use Java string.contains. Yeah. Oh wow, you got a 1,000 word. That also works. Yeah, just use the contains. Oh no, not contains actually. If you have a list, yeah, so you do need some kind of a matching algorithm, I guess. Yeah. Take, yes. So yeah, so the node can do the string for sure, but it's also supporting the object. But then, yeah, that kind of different from what I saw before, because I feel that you can also make your object become a node. So as you are creating an object, you're just creating this node. That's what I was imagining could be even better way. Okay, but maybe this is what this UI is recommending, but I'm gonna play around with it. Okay, I think the other approach should also work. All right. I probably mess up the. Oh wait. Yeah, I think I mess up the. Mess up the UI here. I think I delete something actually right here. Yeah, it was a bad decision. I shouldn't delete it. Okay, let me come back. So, it doesn't matter. I won't delete it. And yeah. So everything is given in this top, which is here. Okay, the top is the key. You create a node here. Okay, so that's the key. Now I'm wondering that we can make some order class to become this. So as you create those, you can then I could show it. I guess that should work. Yeah, why not? I think it should work. So for example, if I create I'll create a different class. Okay, I create a course, not a course. I create a maybe yeah, I'll do a course. All right, so this one could become, I'll just do a simple one. Okay, call it tree mutable, what is it called? Mutable tree node. All right, so this one will become this kind of node. So if you create a course, and then you can, it will become like that. But then you also need some kind of group. Okay, so I'm going to create maybe a course group. Maybe I'll call it department. Okay. Now department also is this one here. Department has a name. And the department can also add other things. Okay, so let me try this. So I am going to go here, create nodes. Okay, I'll follow this one, but I'm going to do a different one. Create nodes for department. Okay, so in this case, I have some courses. And make a constructor. All right, and then the department, let's also make a constructor. Okay, so save them. So here for the course, okay, so the CS3560 on. Okay, so I will do this too, and then department science. All right, and then the most important part is the D1 need to add C1, D1 need to add C2. Okay, so that's how you can form that continuum. Because I make that one to be a subclass of this, so you can actually use that one directly. So with this one here, all I need to do, I think at the end, is try to make sure the top connects them. Top add, okay. So top need to add D1. Okay, let's see if that works. So if I do this one here, I'll call this one Cal Poly. All right, so if I run this, all right. So I think it works, guys. Did you see? Cal Poly Pomona has a 1 department and 2 course. The reason it doesn't show is because I did not override this method, because one of the methods you're going to deal with what to display as a name, right? So if you open this one here, I think let's take a documentation because that node actually takes here. So there had to be a method that deals with display. So it probably become the interface. So the interface should be maybe mutable tree node. Okay, set parents remove. It didn't mention that. Or what's up? Yeah, tree nodes. This is probably the most important one. Is leave and then parent get this one. It doesn't tell you the name. What's being used to display that? Maybe mutable tree node. And we'll look at the implemented default, this one here, okay? So there should be an attribute that controls what to display. Is a toString? It's probably the toString. Let's try that, okay? So I'm gonna rewrite this one, toString. Okay, so it's gonna return the department name. All right, so let's run this again. All right, so that works. So all we need to do is this. We return, maybe we can do ID plus name. All right, so now I run it. Okay, so take a look at this tree here. So you got a root, and then this is a computer science. You open, there are 2 courses. That's it. All right. But then the really nice thing about doing this one, guys, you see here, I only work with my actual data, which is a course and department. And then when I use my UI system, I really don't need to worry about how everything's being created, because all I'm doing, as you can see, I'm only dealing with course and department. Only this, okay? So I can create another one, 3, 4, another department. So this one will be, you know, biology. Okay. One. All right. So once I do that, and then the top, add also the second department. So now when I go here to run it again, as you can see, we got 2 departments, and then every department have 2 courses. It's really not difficult, okay? Not difficult at all. But then really the nice part about this one is you only work with your data class, and then you can add and manage all of those, throw it in the tree will be able to handle it. All right. But then the important thing is I'm actually sending this default mutable tree node. That's very important. However, I did not use composite pattern, okay, which you should do. Okay, you should get a composite pattern. You don't need to basically put this one here. Okay, you can basically make another one. That class actually will have this default thing. Okay. So yeah, for those who still stay here, this example might also help you if you use Java Swing. So what will be displayed? Yes, that's what I'm trying to do here. If you didn't see that, toString, okay? They basically just display that as a toString. That's why I override it. If you don't override it, it won't display that, okay? you have to override the toString method. Whatever you put here will be displayed. Yeah. Yeah. So Camille, for your visitor pattern question, so every button, the button doesn't instantiate anything. When you click on the button, what's going to happen is you create an instance of a certain visitor pattern instance. Okay, back here, you have 4 of those. Okay, you should have 4 of those. Now you create one of the instance and then pass it to the root of your tree and call that method called accept. That's it. Okay, so that's how you use the visitor pattern. Root, yeah, it doesn't matter, Peyton. Those are the details. Don't worry. Whatever you do is fine. Okay, so it's just little details about the functionality. It's okay. You count it or not, as long as you comment it, that's okay. Don't worry. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, take a look at this example. It's not bad at all. Okay, so pretty straightforward. But then the key is you need to this one is a good thing because it is a class. It's already implemented everything. If you do an interface, then you have to actually have implement more things. So probably just use this default mutable tree node. That will be really cool and easy. All right. Well, Christian said no problem. Got that. It helps. Okay. Just don't give up, guys. So this thing here maybe take you a few days, but every day if you keep working, I think you will have some improvement overall. And then at one point you will look at back, it won't be that you won't feel it's that difficult. All right. Well, it is recorded. Okay. I'm gonna stop recording right now and then upload it right away.